All right, let's look at your the second lecture on Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. If you have your essays, as I said, please present them on the altar there. The burnt offerings will go up in a pleasing aroma, one hopes. We shall soon see. But we left off last time, and we'd only got through, I talked about the general themes of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and we got through the first fit, which is the first section, and there are three more, but we left off, and I thought I just put this on the projector on, and I'm not sure if it's going to be on. If not, then you won't see it behind me, but a picture of the Green Knight having left the court of Arthur with his head in hand. So he's lost his head at Gawain's hand, and Gawain has, we left off, Gawain has pledged or given his word, plighted his troth, this word T-R-O-W-T-H, his from which we get the modern English truth. He's given his word that he will, in a year and a day, come and receive from the Green Knight a dint from the sword, another strike from the axe. And of course, normally when you strike off somebody's head, that's the end of the contest, this beheading game. But unfortunately, in this case, the Green Knight is going to has ridden off with, as I say, head in hand, and the head still talking. If you ever watch Ichabod, if you remember in Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman and so forth in American fiction, probably based on this. But he leaves, and now Gawain has now made a covenant with the knight, and covenants are important in Christian thought. The relationship between God and his people is a covenant. It's not just a contract they sign on the dotted line, and if they break the contract, they can get out of it. It's a covenant. It's an eternal bond given by the word, and it represents God's pledging himself to his people. And in medieval society, these covenants govern all of life. Between a king and his vassals, or a husband and his wife, you give your oath, and it's not just to your earthly counterpart, it's to God. That's a part of the whole thing. So for Gawain, who represents the court of King Arthur, and with that, this golden age, this place of Camelot, a place where there's a earthly perfection, the knights around the round table, this sort of unity in diversity, this perfect symbol of human society, is being tested by the Green Knight. At this point, it's not clear what the test is going to be. We'll see in the next three fits exactly what the form of that testing will take place. But it's a covenant that's been given. If you want another illustration of this and the significance, think of the covenant that God makes with Abraham. I believe it's in Genesis 15, in which God says that he is going to bless Abraham and make him and his offspring a mighty nation, as many as the stars in the sky, so many will your offspring. But he doesn't have any offspring. Abraham says, how will I know this? And then he puts Abraham into a deep sleep. First of all, he cuts animals in half. So he takes them and he chops them up. It's a little bit sort of icky. But he cuts animals in half, separates the two, and then the two are to walk between the piles, the corpses. And the covenant goes like this: if either of them breaks it, either of them that walk through the dead animals breaks his word, then what happened to the animals can happen to them. So they give their word, and then they're to walk between the two animals. Look at it in Genesis 15 sometime. But God puts Abraham into a deep sleep, and then God himself goes between the two halves of the animals, signifying if either of them should break their word, it will be on the one who went between the animals. But who has gone between the animals? God only. So if Abraham should be faithless, God himself will nonetheless bear the price of that. He will die for Abraham's sin. It's an anticipation of the cross. It's God's covenant. He's pledged himself to that. He's already designated how this will happen. The cross didn't happen at only because man wanted it. It's because God ordained it so, and has already said that he will bear mankind's sins. Right there. But that's that covenant in the same way you see often blood oaths. So you'll take a knife out of your pocket. You'll see in native culture, they cut your hand and then you mix the bloods. It's a blood oath, right? So we're mixing our bloods. We are one. And if we should break our word, our life is forfeit. That's what's going on here. That's how serious it is. And you're giving your word. So the word is absolutely all important here. And Gawain has agreed that his head will be on the platter if he breaks his word. Now, we're going to see there is going to be a contest of sorts. At the end, Gawain will finally get to the point where he faces the Green Knight, and the Green Knight is going to have the axe. Will Gawain lose his life? That's the question. We don't know at the beginning here, but that is what is coming. But before that, the really important trial that is going to take place is when he lands in the presence of a beautiful lady, and she tests him. And is he going to keep his word? Because that's the real issue here. Not whether he's going to keep his life, but whether he's going to keep his word. If he breaks his word, he's broken his covenant, and he's not a Christian knight. And that's the point. That's the most important point. How Christian is Gawain? Will he keep his word? Because he's renowned for doing precisely that. He is the one who is faithful. So let me move on to this and to fit to with that sort of introduction having been made. And it concludes, fit 1 concludes with delight that day they led, as the knight, Green Knight rides out, till to the land came the night again. Sir Gawain, now take heed, lest fear make thee refrain from daring the dangerous deed that thou in hand hast taken. And with that, Yuletide passed, Christmas, crabbed Lenten, and they move way through summer, section 23, with its soft breezes, the zephyr winds, then harvest comes on, and the leaves are starting to fall from the trees. So now it's autumn until Michaelmas moon. And winter is coming, and Gawain is still back in Arthur's kingdom, tarrying there. He's not yet left. He doesn't probably want to go, but he is there. And yet till All Hallows, section 24, with Arthur he lingered, and furnished on that festival. What is All Hallows? We just had it. All Hallows Eve, Halloween. So he's October 31st. It's All Hallows Day. It's followed by All Saints Day. And he furnished on that festival, Arthur, a feast for the night with much revelry, the round table. The knights of renown and the noble ladies, all for the love of that Lord, had longing at heart. But none, nevertheless, the more lightly of laughter they spoke, etc. Many were joyless who jested for his gentle sake. So they're all downcast. They're jesting, but their hearts within them are very sad because they know he's going to ride off to his death at the hands of this fearsome knight. But he, and there's a mention of some of the names there, but he goes. He finally goes, and before he goes, he arms himself. Now let me come to this. Section 26. He's riding on a horse. His horse's name is Gringolet. Gringolet. So a fit horse for a noble knight. He has a name, this horse. And he is apparelled in gold and bridle, and there's a description of the red and rich gold studded in this. But of all the things that he has, of all the things that is described, the one that's described most fully is his shield. And the shield's description I'm going to talk about now very a little bit of length at any rate. And let me say one thing on this, because I did not give it a great deal of mention when I studied, or we looked at the Aeneid. In the Aeneid, in book 6, there's a description of Aeneas's shield. And inside Aeneas's shield, and outside of it, there's various descriptions. Inside the shield is basically the whole of Roman history. on the inside of that. And so it becomes an aspect of an epic epic hero, that his shield has certain significance. Achilles likewise, by the way, in the Iliad, had an extended description of his shield. And now Gawain's shield is being portrayed. And what is on that shield? Well, let me see if I can find, I did put it up. There you go. It's this pentangle. And it's called the endless knot. And the reason it's the endless knot is because you don't know where it began and where it ends. It just keeps on. Where's the beginning? Where's the end of this? And it's in the middle of the shield. It's in gold, the pentangle, but on a red background, a red field. And let's read the description that the Gawain poet gives to them. They brought him his blazon that was of brilliant gules, with the pentangle depicted in pure hue of gold. By the baldric, that is the, what we call it, the leather strap that goes around your back that holds the shield on, so you can ride with the shield on you while you're going out. You don't have to just hold it in your hand. With the baldric he caught it, and about his neck cast it. Right well and worthily it went with the knight. And why the pentangle is proper to that prince so noble, I intend now to tell you. Though it may tarry my story, it is a sign that Solomon once set on a time to betoken troth. There we go, that word. Connected with the wisdom of Solomon. To betoken troth, as it is entitled to do. For it is a figure that in 5 points holdeth, and each line overlaps and is linked with another, and everywhere it is endless. And the English, I hear, everywhere name it the endless knot. So it suits well this knight and his unsullied arms, forever faithful in 5 points. It has 5 points, and he has 5 points that distinguish him as the fit knight to bear the emblem of troth. He's almost the incarnation of troth. And remember that Jesus Christ himself is the troth. He's the way, the truth, and the life, and he's the incarnation of that. He's God's word take on human flesh. So Gowan is very Christian in his symbolism. And what aspects? There are 5 points, and 5 times under each, so 25 in whole. Gawain as good as was acknowledged, and as gold, refined, devoid of every vice, and with virtues adorned. So there, the pentangle painted new, he on shield and coat did wear, as one of word most true, and knight of bearing fair. And then the extended description of what these 5 fives are. So 28. First, faultless was he found in his 5 senses. Eyes, ears, so his sight, his hearing, his taste, his touch. What's the final one? Sight, hearing, taste, touch. Was that all of them? Smell. Perfect. So physically, very keen. And next, in his 5 fingers, he failed at no time. Now, his 5 fingers represent his deeds, right? Words and deeds. His hand, the hand with which he does things. His deeds are always perfect. He does them rightly. It's not just that he believes the right things. He does the right things. And firmly on the 5 wounds all his faith was set. The wounds in Christ's hands and his side. 2 in his hands, 2 in his feet, and 1 in his side. The 5 wounds. And he's fixated on the wounds of Christ. And that Christ received on the cross, as the creed tells us. And wherever the brave man into battle was come, on this beyond all things was his earnest thought, that ever for the 5 joys all his valor he gained, that to heaven's courteous queen once came from her child. So the 5 joys of Mary. Mary, the queen, the Virgin Mary. The 5 joys of Mary. For which cause the knight had in comely wise that on the inner side of his shield her image depainted. So when he holds the shield up, like you hold a shield up in battle to protect you, right? When he does so, he looks upon the Virgin Mary. He sees her face, the mother of the Lord, and she comforts him. So gives him the strength. In the same way we saw in Dante likewise, the Virgin Mary was a part of bringing bringing Dante all the way up to paradise, and had compassion on him. And again, for the medievalist mindset, let's not get into theology too much, but just understand when the medievals thought of Christ, they saw him as a returning judge with wrath, a fearful figure, a holy God who is coming to judge the earth. And they didn't see the compassion of Christ. For compassion, they went to the Virgin Mary. And they pleaded with her. Your son is just. He will judge all flesh. We understand that. Please intercede on our behalf. So hence that here. So the compassion of Mary here, and the 5 joys. But so for which cause the knight had in comely wise on the inner side of his shield her image depainted, that when he cast his eyes thither, his courage never failed. The 5th 5 that was used, as I find, by this knight was free giving and friendliness, first of all. And free giving and friendliness, chastity and chivalry, ever changeless and straight, and piety. Free giving, friendliness, chastity, chivalry, piety. 5 virtues. Surpassing all, piety above all. That was the thing for which Aeneas was renowned. Piety. Piety connected with truthfulness. He's going to be pious. He's going to revere God. What's the greatest commandment? Jesus tells us to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. That's pious. You love God, and you are devoted to him above all, but you're also devoted to your neighbor. And who is your neighbor? Well, whoever's around you, mankind. That's piety. And the ones who are closest to you, of course, are your family. That's your immediate neighbor. So there's a familial, but it's not the way quite Virgil presents it. There it really is only your family, and you have your family, household gods, etc. It's more universal in the Christian understanding. But these perfect 5 were hasped upon him harder than on any man else. Now, these 5 series, in truth is what that means, were fastened on this knight, and each was knit with another and had no ending, but were fixed at 5 points that failed not at all, coincided in no line, nor sundered either, not ending in any angle anywhere, as I discover, whether the process was put in play or passed to an end. Therefore on his shining shield was shaped now this knot, royally with red gules upon red gold set. This is the pure pentangle, as people of learning have taught. Now Gowan in brave array his lance at last hath caught. He gave them all good day, forevermore, as he thought. So off he goes. Having armed himself, prepared himself for battle, he arrayed with the shield of trowth, with the sign of Solomon on it, he now goes out. And this represents everything that Gawain, when you look at the shield, you see Gawain. He is this, and when what the pentangle represents is Christ. So he is the martial, the worldly, knightly embodiment of Christ. Now this understanding of being armored is from Ephesians 6, put on the armor of God, right? There it's clearly character attributes, and in Ephesians 6 it talks about our enemies not being flesh and blood, but here they are presented that way, as flesh and blood. So later Christians may take issue with this idea that our enemies are of this sort, and only this sort. I don't think Gawain or the Gawain poet is suggesting that they are only this sort, but they see them certainly as physical embodiments. And this is an issue that for discussion amongst Christians, just because Paul says our enemies aren't flesh and blood, does that mean they can't take an embodied form? Does that mean that we never should resist evil in a physical form? So should we be pacifists? That's a broader issue here. But in Gawain's day, it's certainly the case that they will see that there is a case for physical resistance of evil. So he rides out at any rate. And he is armed for battle, and he goes out. And he rides, line 30, through the realm of Logres. Now this is the name of King Arthur's kingdom. We know the city's name is Camelot, but the kingdom's name is Logres. I mention that because it's not usually very well known, and C.S. Lewis will use that very term when he comes to talk in his sci-fi trilogy. In That Hideous Strength, he talks about the kingdom of Logres. Anyway, off he goes, and he goes up the north or the west coast of Wales, because that's where it is. So that he's in Wales, and he goes, where does he go? I'll just describe it. He goes up near unto northern Wales, all the isles of Anglesey he held on his left, and he goes up towards the wilderness of Wirral. Wirral is where Liverpool is. It's the river. So he's going up into the wilderness, into where the Scousers live in the Wirral. And there he wandered, but few who with goodwill regarded either God or mortal. What does he meet? He meets all sorts of beasts, wild beasts. Bears, and 31. Bulls and bears and boars and ogres. And the cold. He finds no place to rest his head. He's out in the elements. So he's got all sorts of, and just like Beowulf in some ways, he's facing natural foes and supernatural foes and the cold, and he's riding to go to lose his head. So it's a perilous quest. It's testing his not just his courage, but in a sense his commitment to his word and what he believes in, because he's going to go to die. So off he goes, and he is wondering where he's going to some degree. He doesn't know exactly. He get the general direction, yes, but the exact place. And in section 32, he gets to the point where he sighs and says, I beseech thee, O Lord, and Mary, who is the mildest mother, most dear, for some harbor where with honor I might hear the mass of thy matins tomorrow, because it's Christmas. And he wants to honor Christ, but he has no place to do it. So he prays for this. This meekly I ask, and therefore promptly I pray with Pater, Father, and Ave, and Creed. Ave Maria, Father, Mother, and Creed. In prayer he did now ride, lamenting his misdeed. He blessed him oft and cried, the cross of Christ me speed. The sign on himself he had set but thrice, ere a mansion he marked within a moat in the forest. So he prays, and now the mansion appears. He hadn't seen it before. There it is, as if by a miracle response to his prayer. And on a low man above a lawn, laced under the branches of many a burly bole, round about by the ditches, the castle most comely that ever a king possessed, placed amidst a pleasance with a park all about it. So he comes to a castle, and he meets a porter, and the porter invites him in. And I'm just skipping over this because I want to get to the later stuff. And he is introduced, when he comes into the castle, to the Lord of the manor. And the Lord, in section 38, is delighted to find that he is hosting Sir Gawain. He knows who he is. He's a famous man. And he says to this, now perfectly shall we mark the fine points of manners, and the perfect expression of polished converse. How speech is well spent will be expounded unasked, since we have found here this fine father of breeding. God has given us of his goodness his grace now indeed, who such a guest as Gowan has granted us to have. When blissful men at board for his birth sing blithe at heart, what manners high may mean, this knight will now impart. Who hears him will, I ween, of love speech learn some art. Now this is the Lord of the castle saying this, the Lord of the manor. Now we're blessed to have Sir Gawain here. We're going to see what to be a Christian is really like. In every respect, his speech will be courteous. I made a big deal of that last time. Courtesy as being a mark of Christian conduct. It's not just how he does things, it's what he says and how he relates to all stations. And we talked about this repeatedly on the course, the importance of speaking rightly in the right context. Odysseus did so as well, right? He always knew what words to say in what situations, but the difference between Odysseus and Gawain could not be more stark. The one deceives and tests and dissembles, whereas Gawain is always truthful, always courteous, always seeking the good of others ahead of his own. And they're going to see this, so he says. So Gawain comes in and he introduces Gawain to the ladies in the court. And I need to just tarry on this just for a second here. But it's in section 39. They acknowledge him and call him by his name, saying that most welcome he was of all the guests in the world. And he grateful thanks gave him, and each greeted the other, and they sat together soberly while the service lasted. So they sit through the Christmas Eve service. And then the lady longed to look at this knight. And from her closet she came with many comely maidens. Now what was the lady doing in the closet? Where else would you put a lady? I guess you stick her in a closet. She's not in a closet. She's in a chapel. I described this in, I think I described this, no, it was a different class. In a Catholic church, they tend to be cruciform. And the Mass is served here at the end, and there's a choir here on either side. And the congregation can sit out here. But this is where the priest is here. The choir are in the stalls here, but in the stalls as well, there's a special place and even a booth for the Lord and the Lady. So she's in her closet. She's not in the closet. She's in a confined space that's been built for her. That's her seat. Other people can sit there as well. So when I was in Durham Cathedral, if you wanted to, you could sit in amongst the choristers while they were singing. You could sit as long as you showed up on time and just sit behind and be a part of where the choir's sitting. But there's a special spot for dignitaries, and that's where she is. She's there at that point, okay? And they've just heard and participated in the Mass. And she's described here. So she was fairer in face, in her flesh and her skin, her proportions, her complexion, and her port than all others, and more lovely than Guinevere. To Gawain she looked. Guinevere is the most beautiful of all women, but more lovely than Guinevere. To Gawain she looked. He came through the chancel to pay court to her grace. Leading her by the left hand, another lady was there. Leading her by the left hand. Sinister. Left is sinister in Latin. Left never has good connotations. She's being led by the left hand. Another lady was there. So there are two ladies. There's one who is beautiful, surpassing beautiful, more beautiful than Guinevere. There's another lady who is older than she. Indeed, ancient she seemed, and held in high honor by all men about her. But unlike in their looks those ladies appeared. For if the younger were youthful, yellow was the elder. With rose hue, the one face was richly mantled. Rough, wrinkled cheeks rolled on the other. On the kerchiefs of the one, many clear pearls were. Her breast and bright throat were bare, displayed, fairer than white snow that falls on the hills. The other was clad with a cloth that enclosed all her neck. Enveloped was her black chin with chalk white veils. So she's got black hair coming out of her chin. She's obviously in menopause. Her forehead folded in silk, and so fumbled all up, so topped up and trinketed and with trifles bedecked, that naught was bare of that beldam but her brows all black, her two eyes and her nose and her naked lips, and those were hideous to behold, and horribly bleared. What a worthy dame she was may well for God be said. Short body and thick waist, with bulging buttocks spread, more delicious to the taste was the one she by her led. So the poet's having a little bit of fun here. It's not quite Beauty and the Beast, but it's not that far off. Who this lady is, we're going to find out later. This is Morgan Le Fay. I'll give it away right now, but we'll come to it later. she is Morgan Le Fay. Now this is Arthur's husband, or it's not Morgan Le Fay. And she is related to Arthur, but she's also related to Merlin. She is a sorceress. This is not just anybody here. We don't know this at this point, by the way. I'm giving it away. I'm assuming that I'm not giving it away, that you know already. But even if you read it, you might have missed over that. But that's who this lady is. So there's a beautiful young woman who's the lady of the manor, the wife of the Lord, and then there's this lady. And she's the most important of all, and everyone's paying her homage and so forth. But when Gawain glimpsed that gay lady that so gracious looked, with leave sought of the Lord towards the ladies he went. The elder he saluted, low to her bowing. About the lovelier he laid then lightly his arms, and kissed her, in courtly wise with courtesy speaking. So that's the custom of the day. I don't know if it is here. It is in certain countries, certainly. I don't think in Canada we tend to kiss people in greeting. You do in Spain. You do in France. You do in Italy. Depends where you are, whether you give it 1, 2, or 3 kisses. In England, you give them 1. In France, you give them 2. In Italy and Spain, you give them 3. I think it's Spain, definitely. It's 3. It's a greeting. You don't even have to kiss the cheek. It's that's the form of the greeting. Paul says we're to greet one another with a holy kiss. I notice that that has not been followed in evangelical circles, for which I'm not that unhappy, to be honest. What does that look like? I don't know. I think we can. I'll take that as a cultural convention. I won't be a literalist for once on that. I'll give you the right hand of fellowship. How about that? Yeah. But he kisses her, and there's nothing sexual here. It is the manner of the day. So that needs to be acknowledged here. And he does it in public, and he does it to be courteous. And his acquaintance they requested, and quickly he begged to be their servant, in sooth, as if so they desired. They took him between them, and talking they led him. So the 2 ladies have got him between him, grabbing his arm, and they're walking with him. And talking they led him to a fireside in a fair room, and first of all called for spices, etc., etc. So he talks with them a while, and they are enjoying one another's company, and then they spend time together. And while they are there, the Lord says to me, says to the green, to Gawain, while you're here, let's have a game. We just had the beheading game. Let's have a different game. Remember, this is what King Arthur also wanted. Little tests, little contests, little games. Let's have a game. Okay, what's the game? 44. While I remain in your mansion, said Gawain, your command I'll obey, because I don't have to be there at the chapel of the Green Knight, and he says, I know the way there, trust me, until the day after New Year's. I don't need, and it's Christmas, so sure, I can stick around for a bit. Okay. He says, well, 44, returned he, you have traveled and toiled from afar, and then I've kept you awake. You're not well yet, not cured. Both sustenance and sleep 'tis certain you need. Upstairs you shall stay, sir, and stop there in comfort tomorrow till mass time, and to a meal then go when you wish with my wife, who with you shall sit and comfort you, till I return, till the court I return. You stay, and I shall early rouse, and a hunting wend my way. Oh, I've missed over the troth that's plighted here. What is it exactly again? Okay, what's this? He's going to be there 3 days. I'll go hunting. While I'm hunting, you stay at home. Gowan says, I want to go with you hunting. He says, no, you're exhausted. Rest, and my wife will entertain you while I'm out hunting. But here's the game. Whatever I get on my hunt, I will give back to you. And whatever you receive while you're at home with my wife, you have to give to me. Is that a deal? Deal. He's going out hunting. Gowan's just at home. What's he going to... So, but that's it. They agree that they will give everything that they have received that day. That's it. So out he goes a-hunting. One thing more. So here it is, 45. That's why I hadn't come to it yet. One thing more. We'll make an agreement. Whatever I win in the wood at once shall be yours, and whatever gain you may get, you shall give in exchange. Shall we swap thus, sweet man? Come, say what you think, whether one's luck be light or one's lot be better. By God, quote good Gawain, I agree to it all, and whatever play you propose seems pleasant to me. Done! 'Tis a bargain. Who will bring us the drink? And they drink on it. That's how you seal the bargain. And they go to bed. Okay. That's the end of the second fit. Now the third fit. The third chap. Yes?
Sorry, I just had a question about
Yes, sir.
What is he going to, like, he's staying at home and say, give him food or something. Is he going to give that? Like, I don't understand what they're interpreting as whatever.
No, whatever he receives while the Lord is away. When he comes back, he's going to bring the food, so he doesn't need to give him the food back that he received that day. But that's it. Everything that he receives that during the day, he's to give to him.
What would that, like, words of comfort?
Well, we're going to find out. But it's open-ended. It's not stated at all. But whatever you get, whatever you have received, you will have to give to me. And Gowan said, it's like you. What am I going to get? I'm here. You're out hunting. I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get whatever you've hunted. That's going to be given to me. Okay, that's great. I'm at your castle. What am I going to get? Sure, I'll give it to you. That's good game. I'll take that. Then begin in the third fit, the hunting scenes. And there are 3 hunting scenes. And I'll tell you right now, there are 3 seduction scenes. The lady and Gawain. The lady is beautiful. Gawain is a courtly lover. In fact, he's not just a courtly lover, he is the courtly lover. He's Mr. Courtesy. He has to act, and because he has to treat the lady as his social superior, he dare not offend her. If he offends her, he's not courteous. If he's not courteous, he's not Christ-like. So that's part of the tension in the scene. The lady is going to be hunting Gawain while the Lord of the Manor is out hunting the beasts. There are 2 hunts going on. Gawain is like the animal that's being hunted, and he will have to parry and use the shield of his trowth, but also of his tongue. And above all, he dare not offend. He must act in a certain way. He has to be courteous at all times. So it's playing with the courtly love conventions. Now, one final thing I'll say is that in the book of Proverbs 1-9, chapters 1-9, there are 2 ladies presented. One is wisdom, crying out in the streets, calling out in the streets, asking men to receive and act wisely. And the other is an adulteress. She tempts men to be unfaithful. She's the representation of fault. But there are 2 women. Gawain is wedded to wisdom. He looks at the Virgin Mary on the inside of his shield. It's a clash that Proverbs 9 or Proverbs 1-9 actually delineates, but it's represented in a physical encounter, as it were. But you could read it allegorically. I don't think it's strictly speaking an allegorical poem, but that side of it, the contrast between wisdom and folly being like a seductress, an adulterous woman, that's what she is representing, and she is testing him on the very thing that makes Gawain his trowth. So with that. So the hunt begins, and they go out, and there are 3 hunts, and I won't go through in detail because we'll run out of time. But he goes out, and he has 3 beasts that he hunts. The first day, what does he hunt? He hunts a deer, a stag. And these would all have, in medieval heraldry, a fixed understanding. Now, this is what nobles do, by the way. But there are 3 hunts. There's one, a stag. 2 is a boar. And the third is a fox. When I was in England. They tried to ban fox hunting. I'm not sure if they managed to do that, but I don't know if you have a picture in your mind's eye of a fox hunt. People wearing scarlet apparel on horses with the foxhounds chasing the fox, and they then kill the fox. That's part of the tradition. It's not just the nobility, it's what takes place in the countryside. They go on a fox hunt. They can also hunt deer and boar and so forth, but fox hunting is part of the English countryside conventions, and it's partly good stewardship. Foxes are terrible vermin. You may think that they're just attractive animals, a little bit dog-like, but they're vermin. If you have chickens, they will come into the chicken coop and they'll kill every last chicken, just for the sake of killing them. They can't eat them all. They go in and they kill every last one of them. So if you're a farmer, you hate foxes because they are a blight on, and they threaten your livelihood, and they're literally going to kill everything. So they hunt them. So they're seen as a unworthy beast to hunt. It's out of necessity that you hunt a fox. It's vermin. Whereas the first two beasts that we will hunt here, there are rules for a deer hunt. You hunt in season. There are seasons for deer hunting. By the way, fox hunting is all seasons. It's always open season on fox hunting. Whereas deer hunting, you're culling the herd. You only do it at certain times of year because you regard the deer as a good animal. And the reason that you hunt deer is to keep them from becoming too numerous, and then there are certain problems that ensue if they're too numerous. There's pests and so forth, and when they get too numerous, they get sick and disease and so forth. So you have to cull the herd a little bit. Boars likewise. There are rules that govern the hunting of boars. But in deer hunts, there are established rules for it. And that's the point. Likewise, the first seduction scene that the lady has with Gawain, she's very courteous. She's observing the laws of courtesy that would befit a lady in the courtly love tradition. So there's a parallel going on here between the deer hunt and the Gawain hunt in the first day. So I'll read a bit of this, of that scene. I won't spend too much on it, but while he's hunting the deer, and the deer's running around, 48, thus in his game the Lord goes under greenwood eaves, and Gawain the bold lies in goodly bed, lazing till the walls are lit by the light of day. So he slept in, under costly coverlet with curtains about him. As in slumber he strayed, he heard stealthily come a soft sound at his door, as it secretly opened. And from under the clothes, the bedclothes, he craned then his head. A corner of the curtain, remember in beds of the day, it's got curtains around them. So he's like, what? What's going on here? There's somebody in my room. Around the curtain he caught up a little and looked that way warily to learn what it was. It was the lady herself, most lovely to see, that cautiously closed the door quietly behind her and drew near to his bed. Then abashed was the knight, and lay down swiftly to look as if he slept. Why is he abashed? Embarrassed, because in Gawain's day they sleep naked. They don't have pajamas. He doesn't have any pajamas on. Gawain is naked in his bed. He's under the cover, but there's a lady in the room, and he's under we'll do the pretend sleep. I'm not awake. I don't know that you're here. Because if he's awake, he'll have to engage with her. He doesn't want to. He wants her to pretend. He's pretending that he's asleep, so she'll go away. And she stepped silently and stole to his bed, cast back the curtain, and crept then within, and sat her down softly on the side of the bed, and there lingered very long to look for his waking. He lay there lurking a long while, and wondered and mused in his mind how the matter would go, and to what point it might pass. To some surprise he fancied. Yet he said to himself, More seemly 'twould be in due course with question to inquire what she wishes. Then, rousing himself, he rolled over and round. To her turn, he lifted his eyelids with a look of wonder and signed him with the cross, thus safer to be kept aright. With chin and cheeks so sweet of blended red and white, with grace then him did greet, small lips with laughter bright. Good morning, Sir Gawain, said the gracious lady. You are a careless sleeper if one can creep on you so. Now quickly you are caught. If we come not to terms, I shall bind you in your bed, you may be assured. With laughter the lady thus lightly jested. Good morning, your grace, said Gowan gaily. You shall work on me your will, and well I am pleased. For I submit immediately, and for mercy I cry, and that is best as I deem, for I am obliged to do so. Thus he jested in return with much gentle laughter. So she acts as if she has all the power. Here's this knight under the bed. He's physically far stronger than, but you've got me at your mercy. I can't do anything. I'm trapped. I'm caught. Okay, ha ha ha. We'll play with this. But if you would, lady gracious, then leave, grant me, and release your prisoner, and pray him to rise. I would abandon this bed, and better array me. The more pleasant would it prove then to parley with you. Nay, forsooth, fair sir, said the sweet lady, you shall not go from your bed. I will govern you better. Here fast shall I enfold you, on the far side also, and then talk with my true knight, that I have taken so. For I wot well indeed that Sir Gawain you are, to whom all, she's making fun of his accent, Gawain, talking like a noble is a Gawain, they can't say Gawain. To whom all men pay homage wherever you ride. Your honor, your courtesy be by the courteous is praised, by lords, by ladies, all the living people. Okay, and then what does she say? And for the talk I chance have still, this is how she, with the bob and wheel, to my body will you welcome be, of delight to take your fill, for need constraineth me to serve you, and I will. Now, a lot of ambiguity there. She's saying, is she saying what it sounds like she's saying? Or no, she just means I'm at your disposal, right? It sounds a little bit, she couldn't possibly, and I will pretend I didn't hear it. She must have meant it this way and not that way. She's not really doing this. And upon my word, said Gowan, that is well, I guess, though I am not now he of whom you are speaking, to attain to such honor as here. So he has to be humble. Here you tell of, I am a knight unworthy as well, indeed I know. By God, I would be glad if good to you seemed whatever I could say, for in service could offer to the pleasure of your excellence, it would be pure delight. So they go back and forth, and she tempts him, and in the end he just keeps putting her off, pardon me. And in the end she's defeated, but she said, hold on, you failed, Sir Gawain. And what did I do? It's what you didn't do. You didn't kiss me. Oh. Right? That's the form of courtesy. I came in. I'm a lady. You didn't kiss me. Well, he's in the bed. Of course he didn't kiss you. He's naked under the cover. He didn't want to kiss you because it's inappropriate. Right, but she's pushed the boundaries here. But he hasn't done that. And he says, aha, okay. Well then, I will kiss, section 52, very well as you wish it may be done. I will kiss at your command as becometh a knight. And more, lest he displease you, so plead it no longer. And so she catches him up in her arms. They courteously commend each other to Christ. Without more ado, through the door she withdrew and departed. And he rises. Okay, now the Lord comes back. He brings back the deer which he's got. He skins it. It's part of the whole rite. And gives it to Gawain. Gawain, on the other hand, what does he give him? A kiss. Gives him a kiss. What does the Lord say? Section 55. Here is venison, says Gawain, the fairest that I've seen in 7 years in the season of winter, and I give it all to you, Gawain, said the good man at once, for as our covenant accorded you may claim it as your own. That is true, he returned, and I tell you the same. What of worth within these walls I have won, also with as good will I warrant 'tis awarded to you. His fair neck he enfolded then fast in his arms, and kissed him with all the kindness that his courtesy knew. There, take you my gain, sir, I got nothing more. I would give it up gladly, even if it greater were. That's a good one, quoth the good man. Greatly I thank you. 'Tis much, maybe, that you had better briefly now tell me where you won this same wealth by the wits you possess. That was not the covenant, quoth he. Do not question me more, for you've drawn what is due to you. No doubt can you have, 'tis true. They laugh, and with voices fair their merriment pursue, and to supper now repair with many dainties new. You can have the kiss, but you can't demand where I got the kiss. That's not part of the agreement. Okay, so ha ha ha, go and eat them. Second day is the hunt of the boar. Now the boar sounds like a funny old thing to hunt. We've already encountered the boar in Odysseus. Remember, it left him with the scar. And the boar hunt, remember what I said about a boar. A boar is a fearsome creature. It is bad-tempered, and it's also large, in excess of 500 pounds often. Now, if you think about how big, 500, it's like, and it's big, and it has fierce tusks, and it, as I say, it's foul-tempered, and it will attack you. So to face a boar is the equivalent to facing a knight in battle. You're facing an enemy, and it's short, and it will hide in the bushes, and it will rush out at you, and it will often injure you badly, if not kill you. So a boar hunt is a very different thing than a deer hunt. And a dangerous thing. But once again, a boar hunt has a certain cultural expectations and ways of engaging with a boar that the Gowan poet is aware of here. It's full of detail. If we look at the boar hunting scene, I'm not going to go through it here, but they're very difficult. And to try and kill it with a sword is, as I say, it's got the tusks, you've got your sword, and it's big, and it's aggressive, and it's fast. It's faster than you as a man, and you've got to dismount to kill it, because you're up on the horse, you can't kill it, you have to get down. It's a very dangerous boar to hunt. By the way, this was edited by Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son. He now lives in France on an estate with boars all over it, because he doesn't want people to bother him. And that's the way you deal with the paparazzi. You just get boars on your estate. The royal family should consider it. That would take care of all their problem with interlopers. Get the boars out there and skewer them. But very challenging. The boar is cornered, and it turns and faces Bertilak, the name of the Lord, and fights him. And that's what a boar will do. A deer just flies. It doesn't try and fight. It just tries to run away. So, and what he does, he chops off its head and he sticks it on a pike. While that's happening, Bertilak's wife, now in some ways, the hunts reflect a little bit on the hunted, that is Gawain, but they also to some degree reflect on the tactics, and I think even more so of the lady. So when she's like the deer hunt, there's a courtesy there and a recognition of it. In the second scene, she's more like the boar. She's aggressive. She's more open in pursuing him. And we'll see that in a second. When it comes to the third, she's like the fox. What does a fox do? Wily as a fox, right? It's subtle, it's clever, but it's vermin. And these are noble beasts to hunt, the stag and the boar. The fox is not a noble beast to hunt at all. There's no nobility in it whatsoever. So by the time we get to the third scene, the lady is disgraceful in her conduct. But Gowan can't reciprocate. He has to remain courteous. That's his problem. That's his dilemma. He has to refuse the lady, but he can't offend her even when she is clearly not being courteous anymore. Right? Because he has to uphold his standard. So he hunts him down, and while the boar is being hunted, 59, she passed to the curtain and peeped at the knight. Sir Gawain graciously then welcomed her first, And she answered him alike. So he's not going to pretend to be asleep again. Okay, here we go again. All right, hi. Hello. Hello, dear lady. She answered him alike, eagerly speaking, and sat softly by his side. And suddenly she laughed, and with a look full of love delivered these words. Sir, if you are Gawain, no wonder I think it that a man so well-meaning, ever mindful of good, yet cannot comprehend the customs of the gentle. And if one acquaints you therewith, you do not keep them in mind. Thou hast forgot altogether what a day ago I taught. By the plainest points I could put into words. What is that? He said at once. I am not aware of it at all. But if you are telling the truth, I must take all the blame. And yet, as to kisses, she quoth, this counsel I gave you. Wherever favor is found, defer not to claim them. That becomes all who care for courteous manners. Take back, said the true knight, that teaching, my dear, for I dared not do. I dared not do, for dread of refusal. That's why. It's not that I didn't know it, I feared to do it, because I held you in such high esteem that I thought you would say no. And therefore, I've done it out of a higher courtesy. I dared not do this for dread of refusal. Were I rebuffed, I should be to blame for so bold an offer. I would have offended you by offering to kiss you, and thereby been discourteous. Aha. Ma fay, said the fair lady, you may not be refused. You are stout enough to constrain one by strength if you like. So you can take me physically if you want. There's nothing going to stop you. Well, this is vulgar. Referring to his ability to take what he wants. If any were so ill-bred as to answer, you nay. Indeed, by God, quoth Gawain, you graciously speak. She's not graciously speaking now. But force finds no favor among the folk where I dwell. And any gift not given gladly and freely. I am at your call and command to kiss when you please. You may receive as you desire, and cease as you think in place. Then sat down the lady, bent, and sweetly kissed his face. Much speech then there they spent of lovers' grief and grace. And he goes back and forth, and again there, I'll skip over the scene, more or less, but she gets 2 kisses from him that day. Brings back the boar's head, eat the boar, gives the lord of the manor, Bertilak, 2 kisses. 3rd day, '66, '67. Because Gawain now, between the 2nd and the 3rd day, says, you know what? I think I better be going. I don't want to be late. Because the lady in the 2nd hunt presses him very hard. Not that and she's very open, so her bosom is bared. So she's physically, basically throwing herself at him. It's not courteous. There's a little bit of double meaning there in what she says. She's literally all over him. And Gawain's saying, and he's tempted by this, and he's saying, I don't need a 3rd day of this. I got to get out of here. And so he says, I think I'm going to go. And so 67, to Lord Gawain on New Year's Eve says to the Lord, grant me leave to go on the morrow, for the appointment approaches that I pledged myself to. The Lord was loath to allow it, and longer would keep him, and said, as I am a true man, I swear on my troth, the green chapel thou shalt gain. In the dawn of New Year, sir, ere daytime begins. So lie still upstairs and stay at thine ease. And I shall hunt in the holt here, and hold to my terms with thee truly when I return to trade all our gains. For I have tested thee twice, and trusty I find thee. Now, 3rd time pays for all. Bethink thee tomorrow. Make me merry while we may, and be mindful of joy, etc. So he lies down, he sleeps. And it's morning, and the hunt is going on with the fox. And the fox, while the fox is being hunted, of course, the lady is hunting Gawain. 71. And he's praying to the Virgin Mary now. Why is he praying to the Virgin Mary? We know why. And 71. She, queenly and peerless, pressed him so closely, led him so near the line, that at last, here's the problem in the encounter, the fox hunt. Here now the fox is hunting Gawain. She pressed him so nearly and so near the line that at last he must needs either refuse her with offense or her favors there take. Either way he loses. If he offends her, he's not courteous. If he gives in, he's betrayed his host. And again, this is always there in the courtly love tradition. Right? And he cared for his courtesy, lest a caitiff he proved. Yet more for this sad case, if he should sin commit, and to the owner of the house, to his host, be a traitor. God help me, he said, he happen, that shall not. Smiling sweetly aside from himself, then he turned all the fond words of favor that fell from her lips. So said she to the knight then, now shame you deserve, if you love not one that lies alone here beside you, who beyond all women in the world is wounded in heart, unless you have a lemon, not a lemon as in the yellow fruit, but a woman, a beloved woman, a loved woman. If you have a lover already, then just tell me and I'll give up. More beloved whom you like better, and of affianced faith to that fair one so fast and so true that your release you desire not, and so I believe now. And to tell me if that be so truly, I beg you. And he says, by St. John, and softly gave a smile, nay, I lover have I none, and none will have meanwhile. Those words to the woman are the worst that could be. But I am answered indeed, because he's rejected her, not because of loving another, but just he's rejecting her. She could have tolerated it if he'd had a lover, but as in he was pledged to, but he has none. He's just rejecting her. That's the worst words. But I'm answered, kiss me kindly and I'll go out. And he said, okay, 3 kisses. Oh, before I go, let me give you something. A little token. Or can I have something from you? That's what she asked. She asked him first for. Can I have a little token of value, a love token? You know, give me a gift of some sort, a ring, whatever. No, I won't give you anything, Gowan. I'm not going to give you a pledge of my love. I'm not going to do that. She offers him something. First thing, 73, a rich ring of red gold fashioned with a stone like a star. He won't take it because the Lord will know where she got it. He's not going to do this. He won't take it. He's not worthy of a gift from her. How about the girdle? She offers him a girdle in 73. I shall give you my girdle, less gain will it be. She unbound a belt, swiftly that embracing her sides was clasped above her kirtle under her comely mantle. Fashion it was of green silk and with gold furnished, though only braided round about, embroidered by hand. And this she would give to Gowan, and gladly besought him, of no worth, thought it were, to be willing to take it. And he said, nay, he would not. He would never receive either gold or jewelry ere God the grace sent him to accomplish the quest on which he had come hither. He won't take it. In the end, she says, but the person who bears this green silk girdle can't be harmed. It's protection from all weapons. It will preserve your life if you wear it on your body. It doesn't appear very valuable, but this is a very valuable thing. What does he do? He takes it. That's fine. But on the 3rd day, when the Lord comes home and brings him the fox, he gives him 3 kisses. He doesn't give him the green girdle. Why not? Well, it's obvious. He's about to go face the Green Knight, and this might save his life. There's nothing wrong with him taking the green girdle, but not telling the truth. He's just broken his troth. He's done. As the courteous knight, he's finished. Right there. But we have not yet come to that scene. But that's what, so Gawain rides out in the 4th fit. New Year draws near. page 77. And he rides out, and he's wondering where the Green Chapel is. And he sees a porter. First of all, he prays, 82. Christ keep this castle, he cried, and wished it fortune fair. The bridge was brought down. And the porter ushers him in, and he finds 84. For so far I have taken you, sir, at this time, and now you are near to that noted place that you have inquired and questioned so curiously after. But I will announce now the truth, since you are known to me, and you are a lord in this life that I love greatly. If you would follow my advice, you would fare better. The place that you pass to, men perilous hold it. The worst wight in the world, a wight is a man, in the world in that waste dwelleth. For he is stout and stern, and to strike he delights. He is mightier than any man upon middle earth, and his body is bigger than the 4 best men that are in Arthur's house, either Hestor or others. All goes as he chooses at the Green Chapel. By the way, the color green, the color green in English iconography, it's a little bit ambiguous, but some thinks it's the color of the devil. It's certainly a color of nature, but there are some suggestions in the 15th century that green is the devil's color. I'm not sure if that's in this or not. He certainly seems to be a figure of evil, but he's also connected with Morgan Le Fay. Is she an evil character, or is she a character that is going to test the Christian professions of Arthur's court? That's one of the questions here. She seems almost more neutral, but she's certainly opposed to Arthur. That much is certain. But he says of this, and so, good Sir Gawain, section 85, go another way, and let the man alone for the love of God, sir. Come to some other country, and there may Christ keep you. And I shall haste me home again, and on my honor I promise that I will by God and all his gracious saints, so help me God and the Halidom and other oaths of plenty, that I will keep safe your secret and not a word say of it. So just run away. Run away. Don't go. He does go. He goes on. And I'm not going to do that. He says, by God's will, I will comply, 86, whose protection I do on. On he goes. Doesn't know where the Green Chapel is. And then he hears a noise. What's the noise? It's of an axe being sharpened. A Danish axe, 89. Big, 2-headed, huge axe. Newly dressed the dint to return, with cruel cutting edge curved along the handle, filed on a whetstone, and 4 feet in width. The head, this big. This big. It's a gigantic blade. 4 feet in width. 'Twas no less. Along his dimensions of luminous hue, and the great man in green still guised as before, his locks and his long beard. It's the big axe. There's the size differential, more or less. And the green man, he asked, can this be the chapel green, O Lord, to the gentle knight? There he goes. He addresses him. So 90. Gawain, said that green man, may God keep thee. On my word, sir, I welcome thee with a will to my place. And thou hast timed thy travels as trusty man should, and hast forgot not the engagement agreed on between us. At this time, gone a 12-month, thou tookst thy allowance. Now he's recounting their covenant. And I should now this new year nimbly repay thee. And we are in this valley now verily on our own. There are no people to part us. We can play as we like. Take thy helm off thy head, and have here thy pay. Bandy me no more debate than I brought before thee, when thou didst sweep off my head with one swipe only. Nay, quoth Gowan, by God that gave me my soul, I shall grudge thee not a grain, any grief that follows. Only restrain thee to one stroke, and still shall I stand and offer thee no hindrance to act as thou likest right here. With a nod of his neck he bowed. Let bare the flesh appear. He would not by dread be cowed, no sign he gave of fear. Then the great man in green gladly prepared him, gathered up his grim tool, there Gowan to smite. And with all the lust in his limbs aloft he heaved it, shaped as mighty a stroke as he meant to destroy him. Had it driving come down as dour as he aimed it, under his dint would have died the most doughty man ever. But Gowan on that guisarme then glanced to one side, as down it came gliding on the green there to end him, and he shrank a little with his shoulders at the sharp iron. With a jolt the other man jerked back the blade, and reproved then the prince, proudly him taunting. Thou art not Gawain, said the green man, who is so good reported, who never flinched from any foes on fell or in dale. And now thou fleest in fear ere thou feelest a hurt. Of such cowardice that night I ne'er heard accused, neither blenched I nor backed when thy blow, sir, thou aimest, nor uttered any cavil in the court of King Arthur. My head flew to my feet, and yet fled I never, but thou, ere thou hast any hurt in thy heart, quailest, and so the nobler knight to be named I deserve therefore. I blenched once, Gawain said, and I will do so no more. But if on floor now falls my head, I cannot it restore. That's the difference between them. He's got his head's coming off. On the other hand, he's wearing the green girdle, right? But Gawain is flinched, and he gets mocked. So that's the first pass of the axe. He's going to bring it down, then he flinches and he doesn't. But get busy, I beg, sir, and bring me to the point. Deal me my destiny, and do it out of hand. For I shall stand from thee a stroke, and stir not again, not till thine axe hath hit me. Have here my word on it. Have at thee then, said the other, and heaved it aloft, and ratched him up as wrathfully as if he were wild with rage. He made at him a mighty aim, but the man he touched not, holding back hastily his hand, ere hurt it might do. Gawain warily awaited it, and winced with no limb, but stood as still as a stone or the stump of a tree that with 100 raveled roots and rocks is embedded. This time merrily remarked then the man in the green, So, now thou hast thy heart whole, a hit I must take. May the high order now keep thee that Arthur gave thee, and guard thy gullet as at this go, if it can gain thee that. Angrily, with ire, then answered Sir Gawain, Why, lash away, thou lusty man, too long dost thou threaten. 'Tis thy heart, methinks, in thee, thy heart, that now quaileth. In faith, said the fellow, so fiercely thou speakest, I will no longer delaying thy errand right now. Then to strike he took his stance, and grimaced with lip and brow. He that of rescue saw no chance, with little pleased, I trow. Lightly his weapon he lifted, and let it down neatly with the bent horn of the blade towards the neck that was bare. Though he hewed with a hammer string, he hurt him no more than to snick him on one side and sever the skin. Through the fair fat sank the edge, and the flesh entered, so that the shining blood o'er his shoulders was shed on the earth. And when the good knight saw the gore that gleamed on the snow, he sprang out with spurning feet a spear's length and more. In haste caught his helm, and on his head cast it. Under his fair shield he shot with a shake of his shoulders, brandished his bright sword, and boldly he spake, Never since he, as man-child of his mother, was born, was he ever on this earth half so happy a man. Have done, sir, with thy dints, now deal me no more. I have stood from thee a stroke without strife on the spot, and if thou offerest me others, I shall answer thee promptly, and give as good again, and as grim be assured, shall pay but one stroke's here my due, as the covenant clear did say, that in Arthur's halls we drew, and so, good sir, now stay, as in stop the fight. So there are 3 strokes. He didn't hit him the first time. He didn't hit him a second time. The third time he does hit him. The 3 strokes like the 3 hunts. Didn't get him the first time, didn't get him the second, got him the third. But he gives him a nick in the neck. And now he reveals his identity. Who is this man? The Green Knight. Thou kissed my comely wife, section 94, and the kisses didst render. For the 2 here I offered only 2 harmless feints to make the true shall truly repay. For no peril then need he quake. Thou didst fail on the 3rd day, and so that tap now take. For it is my weed that thou wearest, that very woven girdle, that green girdle, that's my girdle. It's the Lord, it's Bertilak's, that's mine. That thing that you have around your breast. My own wife it awarded thee. I wot well indeed, I know it, because I put her up to it. Now I am aware of thy kisses and thy courteous ways, and of the wooing of by my wife, I worked that myself. I sent her to test thee, and thou seemst to me truly the fair knight most faultless that e'er set foot on earth. As a pearl, then white peas is prized more highly, so is Gowan in good faith and other gallant knights. But in this you lacked, sir, a little, and of loyalty came short. But that was for no artful wickedness, nor for wooing either, but because you loved your own life. The less do I blame you. So he forgives him, because he just feared for his own life. You didn't do what you said you would do, but you feared for your own life. I'll let you go with that. Gawain, so he gives him grace. He lets him off. Gawain, on the other hand, is so mortified at the revelation that he's broken his word. He says, I'm faulty and false, who afraid have ever been, 95, of treachery and troth breach. The 2 now my curse may bear. I confess, sir, here to you, as all faulty has been my fare. Let me gain your grace anew, and after that I beware. What does he do? He takes the girdle back as now a sign of his shame to the court of King Arthur. He's not a faithful knight. Arthur's court has been defeated by Morgan Le Fay, and she's mentioned, by the way, in line 95, and then Gawain goes on with this rendition of how men have been betrayed by women. So Adam, 97, Solomon by several, Samson by Delilah, David by Bathsheba, etc., etc., and he also by a woman. Let me learn that. Never trust a woman. Never trust a woman. That sort of business. But it is she, 99, who set this in motion. Morgan Le Fay, the Duchess of Tintagel, Arthur's half sister. She was the one who put this on. Anyway, he rides back. He goes back to the court, because we're running out of time. He rides back to the court. The sign of his shame, what does the whole court do? Are they disgraced? Are they recognizing that they are not the perfect company? That they were proud and they've been humbled? No. They all decide, you know what? If Gawain's going to wear the green girdle, we'll all wear it. And now they do that to this day. That's how he says, this is the sign, the token 101 of the troth breach that I am detected in, and needs must I wear it while in the world I remain, says Gowan. For a man may cover his blemish, but unbind it he cannot. For whence once 'tis applied, thence parts will it never. The king comforted the knight, and all the court also laughed loudly thereat. And this law made in mirth, the lords and the ladies whoso belonged to the table, every knight of the brotherhood, a baldric should have a band of green, bright green obliquely about him, and this for love of that knight as a livery would wear. For that was reckoned the distinction of the round table, and honor was his that it evermore after, and it is written in the best of the books of romance. Thus in Arthur's days happened this marvel, as the book of the brute beareth us witness, since Brutus the bold knight to Britain came first. And after the siege and the assault had ceased at Troy, I trow many a marvel such after has happened here ere now. To his bliss, and this is how the Christian poet ends, to his bliss us bring who bore the crown of thorns on brow. It ends very ambiguously. Is he condemning the court? It seems to me there must be some. But he's talking about he's enjoining his readers to the crucifixion. It's not our valor. It's not the knight's valor. It's not the perfection of King Arthur's court. It's he who bore the crown of thorns on brow. He's the means of redemption. So he takes them to Christ at the end of it. It's not the deeds of King Arthur and his knights. It's Christ and his atonement for sin. That's what he points us to at the end. That's how it finishes. So the Christian poet dealing with monsters just like Beowulf has a different ending for a different audience. Okay? Well, anyway, that's it for now, and I'll see you next class.